Why, hello there. My name is Mountain, and today I'd like to talk to you about this. And what is this, you might ask? Well, this, my friends, is the Aer x Carryology Tokai Pack 14 liter. As the name suggests, this is a limited edition version of the well-regarded Aer City Pack, Tokai being one of the words for city in Japanese, made in collaboration between the San Francisco-based carry manufacturer Aer and Carryology, the online site for carry enthusiasts. For the most part, this bag is very similar to the Aer City Pack, which I reviewed last year. And if you're considering picking up this bag, I would urge you to watch my review of the City Pack, which I've linked in the description below. I'll be spending most of the time in this video touching briefly on the few notable differences between the Tokai bag, more specifically this white variant that I have right here, and the City Pack upon which it is based, but it will be useful for you to watch that video to have the base context. If, like most people in this world, you have better things to do with your life than listen to me talk for another 30 minutes about a 14-liter backpack in another video, here's a quick summary of the original Aer City Pack, which I reviewed last year, as I mentioned. So overall, it's a compact 14-liter urban use bag made by Aer. I already talked about them, San Francisco-based manufacturer of a dizzying array of bags here. They have solid materials, nice design, robust execution. Its main claim to fame is it has a high degree of urban use organization. I'll show you that very briefly here. Front flap pocket with a bunch of internal organization, top stash pocket, water bottle pocket on the side, front pocket in the top lid here, and then a bunch of internal pockets plus a laptop compartment in here, and a little spot for an air tag here. And it's not only this like high degree of urban use organization in a compact but not tiny form factor, there's also coupled with like an unusually ergonomic design for Aer. They have this kind of little bit of a curved yoke thing going on here with the original, which is also present here. We'll talk all about that in a minute here. And this makes this bag a joy to use in EDC life, especially for folks with a lot of small gadgets and doodads. Now, the main weakness of this bag, and again, we'll talk about how that translates or doesn't translate over to this bag here in a second, is it has no real wide open capacity. Everything's very narrow, everything's kind of vertically oriented. And that means that carrying anything bulky, especially common things like mirrorless cameras, puffy jackets, or bigger headphones, is gonna be really tough in this bag. And surprisingly, the original bag, which I'm showing here, doesn't really stand up on its own. Obviously, you can see that's not the case with this one here. And that's something that you would expect in a kind of like EDC use or kind of like heavy urban type use intended bag that's so vertically oriented. Now, this bag, and also this bag, to be honest with you, is for urban dwellers, especially commuters who are rocking a lot of slimmer devices, but want to keep all their digital stuff kind of organized in the different pockets and whatnot here. It's probably one of the best bags that Aer makes, in my opinion, for keeping a bunch of different gadgets and stuff organized and readily accessible. It's not going to be for folks who need to carry a lot of bulky things, like people like gym rats, college students with big physical textbooks, or even like normal city life folks who carry bulkier things in their everyday normal city lives, like headphones or puffy jackets or extra shoes or whatever. Like these bags, you know, this one and obviously the Tokai Pack we're talking about today, not going to be good for that. So overall, like this bag was a joy to use, and it's among one of my favorite Aer backpacks out there. I loved all this organization and like the compact form factor, and even appreciated like the touches, like the ergonomic kind of yoke kind of looking thing going up here, and then also like this side handle, which I think is wonderful here. So with that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about like this Tokai Pack itself. Then we'll talk about like, you know, what is the same or different from this pack versus the original pack that I just gave you the quick overview on, right? So this one dropped back in December 10th, 2022 as a special release with Carryology, and it was available in 2 different colorways. This one is the white one, obviously, with a little bit of white camouflage on the side, and then this white V50 or whatever it is, X-Pack material on the front here, and then the black one, which has like a black camouflage colorway and has white on the inside here. The only difference between the two is the materials and the colorway. They retailed for $239 US at launch time, although right now prices on the secondary market are significantly higher. And those of you who've been in the carry game for a while may remember that a few years ago, Aer and Carryology launched a Tokai Sling version of their City Sling, the City Sling V1 that was also available in black and white. That one is sold out. I didn't cop one of those at the time. Now I kind of wish I did so that it could match this one, but anyway. With that quick bit of baseline context out of the way, here are the basic facts about the Tokai Pack versus the original City Pack here that I just gave you that quick overview on, right? So this one has several key improvements over the original City Pack. For one, it stands up on its own, which this one did not, and that was one of my biggest criticisms of this bag. It has a much improved key leash system in the front here. Looks better, and it has this magnetic detaching part and like just a nice little key ring in there. This original one just had like a normal little, sort of disappointing key clip thing going on there. I mean, it wasn't disappointing, it was fine, but it was just a normal key clip here. Has better materials, storm guard, much higher water resistance due to the materials. Obviously the X-Pack variant of this one, I think, is going to be a little bit, more weather resistant there than the nylon one that I have here. And while fashion's obviously in the eye of the beholder, I think this one, especially the white one, just looks really nice. It looks really just dope with the orange, accents and all that. And the black one also looks pretty cool. This one has a normal, Aer aesthetic that we've come to know and love, but it's pretty, straightforward there. There are, however, a few areas that I think are a little bit more disappointing or slightly disappointing on this one versus the original. One of them, at least on the white variant, I'll talk about this in a minute here, this internal area, internal front organizer pocket, while you can see on the original, is just like this normal, fairly smooth, nylon. It actually has like this rough, material X50 that just makes it a lot harder to like slide things in and out of and to see what's going on in here. The black variant has the colors inverted. Again, I'll talk about all this in a minute. I thought that was actually not as good on this one here. And it has slightly more annoying, in my experience anyway, sternum strap here that I just kind of found did not behave itself as easily as the original one here did. And then finally, this one, obviously the white one, gets dirty more easily. That's not, you kind of see this one's got some dirt and stuff going on here, inevitable given that it's a white bag and you have to set it down on the ground, etc. But anyway, other than that though, like the 4 and not 4 of this bag and the original City bag are going to be exactly the same in my opinion. So next, let's talk about the exterior materials and the design of this bag. The main difference between the Tokai bag and the City Pack, and this is generally true for most Carryology collabs, is going to be like the materials and the visual design. While most of the things that I said in my original review of the City Pack apply here to the Tokai Pack, I would say the biggest differences or divergences in materials and the exterior design of the bag. One of the things that I said about, and generally about all airbags, but in the City Pack review, for example, is like, this is true of like all airbags. I think it's like they are among the best you can get to the general consumer price point with good but unexciting kind of execution at the consumer level materials. And what I mean by that is, like, with the exception of the X-Pack variants, of course, they're generally just robust but unexciting Cordura type bags. Got a very distinct look. They've made Cordura ballistic nylon like their own thing, and all that. And I think it's cool. It's like, they kind of have a very distinctive but sort of, mainstream look here. But when if you're a fan of exotic materials, you have to go look at other kind of brands for some of that, I think. But when you look at this variant here, like they've got some really interesting materials here. X50, X50, X-Pack sailcloth with, material here. You also get some pops of color. Obviously there's a camouflage pattern here that's a little bit rougher, and then you've got like the actual diamond ripstop type pattern here. On the inside, as I already said, they've got like the inverted black camouflage thing going on here. I really like the little orange highlights in the key pulls or in the key leash, etc. And then obviously on the inside here, here you've got that pop of orange for Carryology. Just overall, I really like the different materials and colors of all that with the white variant. The black one also is popular, I think, with a lot of folks as well. Normally I review black bags. I couldn't resist the white version of this one though. You get all the benefits that you expect with those upgraded material choices too, right? Especially the X50 AquaGuard zippers gives you increased water resistance, increased abrasion resistance, and just looks and feels much better. I already mentioned this though, like the downside of this, at least for the white variant, is it gets dirty, as you might expect here. You can see this is all dirt. The camouflage pattern kind of helps a bit actually, but you can see like where the bag is kind of folded, you can see like there's a part that's like definitely whiter because it didn't get as dirty as the rest of the bag, but it's definitely going to get dirty here. This part here cleans off a lot more easily than this part, which is kind of has a rougher tooth and tends to absorb that. So I guess, you need to be aware of that with this bag. If you get the white variant, if you get the black variant, obviously it's gonna blend in pretty well with the black camouflage here. So while looks are pretty subjective, obviously, fashion's in the eye of the beholder, I really like how this white variant looks. It kind of reminds me of like a Star Wars stormtrooper thing kind of going on here. You know, usually I only buy black bags, as I've mentioned, but like this one, you know, I think it's the first non-black bag I've reviewed on this channel, other than like the Evergoods Signal Blue Mountain Panel Loader 30, which I started with the black bag, but I ended up reviewing the Signal Blue one for most of that one there. The X50 X Pack is a much stiffer material than the original Cordura, and that means that this bag stands up superbly well on its own. I love that about this bag. It's such a useful feature, and it stands up pretty much, you know, as long as you've got like a laptop in the back, it tends to stand up on its own. This one being a much softer material, just kind of always flopped over. I found like the bottom just didn't really have the same kind of, either it was a slightly different patterning or the stiffness of the material didn't let it do it, but this one does that really, really well. Now, there is technically a downside to this material here, which is it has no stretch. So what that means is like, you can't like overstuff this bag. And you'll see when I get into the inside of this bag, like there's no like Cordura has some amount of like stretch from the weave, so you can kind of like stuff things in here. This one, everything's a lot tighter. Everything, you feel it in the interactions with these pockets. Like you feel it, especially in this front pocket where it's just a really stiff, there's no give compared to like, for example, on the original City Pack where there's a lot more give just because it's a softer material. Or softer material and a little bit of, you know, like flex in between the weave of all that there. So since this is a pretty slim bag to begin with, like at 14 liters, that may be a little bit restrictive for folks. I found it didn't like affect too much the overall capacity of the bag, but it definitely affected the interactions I had with some of these tighter areas of the bag, or when I was trying to get in and, you know, get to the bottom of this bag here in any of the compartments there. So next, let's talk about the load carriage of this bag. And it's gonna be pretty straightforward. It's exactly the same as on the original City Pack here. So moderately padded, fairly supportive shoulder straps can be properly sized for a 14-liter bag of this 14-liter capacity bag. A little bit of a stiff cover here, but not too stiff. Like there's definitely bags like the Bellroy Transit Work Pack, I think, has like a much stiffer kind of like layer here. This one just has a little bit of stiffness in there, and then like the air mesh on the inside. Sternum strap here, which I'll talk more about in a minute. A little bit of subtle branding, Aer and Carryology there. You've got the adjustable, you know, standard kind of adjustable pull tabs here with a little loop to run your finger through at the bottom. Integrated elastic strap keepers. You've got a bit of an ergonomic yoke going on here. I found that the yoke part of this didn't seem to contour as much to my body as the original one did. Maybe because this fabric's a little bit softer and it just tends to have a little bit more flex. Or I don't know if this might not be true. It might just be I've worn this one in a lot more. I felt the back panel was slightly flexier on this one. That might just be my impression though, because like again, I've been using this for about a month straight, but it's possible it's just not as worn in as this one here. But this is kind of, you know, unusual for Aer, but takes a page from like the book of Evergoods or whatever. I mentioned the sternum strap before, and let me talk about it very briefly here. So I like how it's attached here, easily adjustable. You're not gonna lose it. You can remove it if you really wanted to, but it's not gonna fall off on its own. Overall, great attachment system. The only thing I didn't really like was this slightly stiffer belt material here. And let me see if I can show you. If we look at the original sternum strap here, you can see here, it's a little bit softer of a fabric or a strap. This one has like a vertical bias here. I don't know if you can see. And it's a little bit stiffer. And as a result, you can see the way in which the clip tends to just be able to bend up. This one, I always found it went down like this. It does this a little bit on this one as well, but I just found it's a softer material, so it tends to like bend up more easily. So what that meant is when I'm, you know, attaching this one, it was really easy to kind of get it, you know, clipped on. This one I found when I was like kind of throwing the bag over and I was trying to like, you know, wrestle with it, I found it would often go like this, like it would tuck under. And I had to like kind of force a finger on anything. I don't know. It just feels like it's a little bit stiffer because of the way that this material is. And that affected it a little bit in practice, like in trying to buckle it in on the go. It just always kind of tucked under, if you can see like that. And I was like that. Anyway, a very minor friction, but something that I noticed there. Anyway, I'm squarely in the sternum strap squat, so I'm glad that they had that on there here. The other parts of the load carriage system, I talked very briefly about the frame sheet here. It's a fine flexibility, lets the bag stand up on its own. Luggage pass-through or vertical carry handle if you want. I find it very handy. I like that bags are starting to incorporate this on here. It's really low profile, stays out of the way when you don't need it, but it does provide a little bit of extra functionality when you do. Nice air mesh here. Not the most breathable bag, not the most comfortable bag, but certainly fine and comfortable and breathable for a 14-liter bag of this size. Side carry handles. I love that they have a side carry handle. This is also on the original. I manipulate the bag like this all the time. Top carry handle, both are padded with some sort of like foam on the inside that gives them a little bit of structure, fairly unobtrusive. They look good on this bag in my opinion. They blend in more or less transparently on the black variants. You can barely even see them in there. You can obviously manipulate the bag this way with both hands if you need to. It's 14 liters, so some might say that like that's a little bit of overkill to have this many straps on it, but I really like it. I think all bags should have a side carry handle, just my opinion. Talking very briefly about the exterior pockets here. Elasticated side water bottle pocket, little pop of orange in there for Carryology, which I like. Exactly the same as on the original. Maybe a slightly stiffer than the original, maybe again because of the material here. You have this little D-ring up here that you can presumably use, like if you've got like a taller object, tripod or an umbrella or something like that, you could run like a rubber strap or a cord or something like that, or a carabiner, clip in a water bottle in here so it doesn't slip out or whatever. It's a nice little option here. And I forgot to mention they have also a D-ring on the front here, like if you want to strap like a pocket on here and it has like a clip at the top to prevent it from running down or something like that, also available there. You've got obviously this front one-way zipper, aqua guard, storm guard, black on the inside there with a little bit of the black camouflage here with a little bit of the black camouflage, and you can see it's pretty hard to see in here, and I'll talk more about that when we get to this main compartment here in a second. I've already mentioned that they have this really great key clip. I've got my keys in here. We'll put them over here for now. It's really nice. It's much improved over the original. Bright orange magnetic fidlock there, plus a nice big ring here, a split ring to get your keys on there. I use a carabiner to attach mine. I really like this. It's super handy for like, just clipping it on and off and probably there. I already mentioned this pocket's tighter because of just like the lack of give on this material in here, but you can still fit some stuff in there. I have like some hand cream and some cough drops, and I think that is it. Yep, that plus my keys obviously in there. And then the other exterior pocket is going to be at the top, the standard Aer quick stash pocket here. One way, lay flat, waterproof YKK zipper. It's kind of felt lined here, so you can put your glasses or whatever in there, a little bit softer. Have my phone, iPhone 13 Pro in there, some lip balm and some hand sanitizer and some eye drops there in it. And that's it. It opens up for, it's hard to see in here because it's all black, but it opens up, like it's a straight vertical lay flat pocket, but it has like a fair amount of capacity in there. So I find it quite handy. You can stuff quite a lot of stuff in there if you needed to. Again, like sunglasses or whatever will fit in there fine. Now, there is one thing I want to mention about this top pocket, and it's the thing that annoyed me about the original Aer City Pack, and that is, if you look at the main zipper track here, zipper pulls, you can see they're kind of, long, and they've got the little dangly zipper pull. What happened all the time is they would get trapped in here, because I tend to keep mine at the top here, and they get trapped inside of here, and then when I go to zipper it, it would get caught. And this happened all the time. Now, obviously, theoretically, you can like pull the zipper pulls over to the side or something like that so they don't get in the way. But like, again, it's just a little bit more inconvenient from, at least in my opinion, to like have them off to the side here or like all the way down here. So I tend to keep them up at the top, and they would fall in at the top all the time like this and get caught. It was a problem I had with the original Aer City Pack. So like, it's not like a new flaw. This is just something that it was just such a little bit of an annoying interaction that I found that happens all the time, because I'm obviously in and out of here, in and out of here. And I tried to like retrain my muscle memory to keep the zippers on the side, but it's just so much handier to have it on the top, because that way you don't have to go left or which side did I leave it on, or it's just always the top there. Anyway, just something I wanted to call out. Okay, so now let's talk about the front main compartment here. Now I really liked this compartment in the original Aer City Pack, and I sort of like it on here. So to talk about that, let's just very briefly pull back in our original Aer City Pack here. A couple things you notice right away is this one, again, that flexibility of the material is just so much easier to like flip this open, whereas this one, there's just a little bit more stiffness I found there. It's just easier to get in and out of this. Again, you can see a little bit more give. Obviously there's stuff in this one, so that also probably contributes a little bit to it, but just in general, I found it's a little bit more flex, which made the interactions a little bit easier. You can see right away, like, you know, basically all the same, pockets and layout, except identical, but with one big difference, which is look at how easy it is to see what's going on the inside here and what you got in there versus what is going on in this black camouflage. Like, can you see? I don't know if this shows up on camera. Like, look at how easy it is to see here with the gray, the light contrast gray, which is this one. It's like all black camouflage. It's camouflage and it's black. It's really hard to see what you got going on here. And so, you know, that's maybe, you know, you can, certainly you can live with it. Like, it's a bit of a nitpick, but it's also a bit of a frustration and a letdown, especially when you look at the black variant of this. Like, this is unique to the white variant. The black variant of this has this white contrast on the inside, I believe. And like, that's obviously really easy to see, right? It's how nice would it be to be able to see this? Whereas this one is just that much harder. But there's another thing that I found particularly unpleasant about the white variant's internal front pocket, which is this black camouflage is the same kind of tooth as, let's see if we can get this focused, same tooth. You can see it has like a roughness to it, as opposed to the smoothness of the the ripstop grid pattern. And so that's what we have going on here. And that is frictionful. So like, if you take a thing like a leather wallet, like, it slides in, but there's a friction in here. And where it really comes into play is like in this top front pocket here, or internal thing here. Now, in my original review, I love this pocket because it's so smooth. I would stuff like a wind shell or something like that, and it was really easy to get it in and out. It was an unexpected delight. Business, papers, man, go right in here. Let me tell you, this one, it's frictionful in here. Like, it's frictionful. When you're sliding trying to slide a shell, like, you get it all nice and flatly folded and you're trying to slide it in there, and it kind of like, catches on there, especially if it's like a fleece or something with like a little bit of a, you know, like a tooth to it, you know, like a proton layer or something like that from Arc'teryx, something like that. I have it just in here some masks. That was like the least annoying thing I could find to get stuffed in there. But like, even like this fabric mask, excuse me, I found it was a little bit frictionful. There is an orange smoother nylon layer on this side of it, which helps a little bit, but still, like, you know, I don't know, I just generally didn't like this. I tried to keep an iPad in here. There's an iPad tablet in here, which I'll show you here in a moment. But like the silicone cover would kind of get frictionfully caught on this a little bit. I don't know, just I didn't find that very pleasant, and I thought that was an example of putting, like, you know, kind of designing this as an inversion of the black variant, which is sort of like the baseline variant. And they just color swapped everything. So they swapped this, which was white, into like the black camouflage without thinking about the functionality or the implications, I think, of, you know, this material choice in an area that has a lot of up and down vertical access in a very tight slim compartment. I wish they had gone with, anything smoother and hopefully a little bit more bright contrast there. Generally speaking, like I believe that form should follow, function, and that's just my personal philosophy. So for me, that wasn't the right choice. But I understand why. Probably they chose that. It looks, I don't personally actually like how it looks, but I understand why they chose that. Anyway, a minor nitpick, but it is one that will come into play quite a lot here. Very briefly, what I got in here. Field notes there's 2 pockets here at the bottom, if you can see. I got my field notes, reporter notebook in here. I've got a Bellroy note taker with a pen in here. There's 1 pen pocket here. I've got a couple of tactile turn and a highlighter in here. Bellroy Apex wallet in here. And then in here we've got like a Apple MagSafe battery, and then in front here some B&O EQs or EXs or whichever they are. There's this front zipper pocket here, and inside you got the contrast orange. Just got another wallet, coin pouch, and some AirPod Pros. For some reason I have 2 pairs of earbuds today. And I already talked about this back one. You can see like it is a little bit, just like it's a little bit bulgy sometimes. It just doesn't quite have this nice give. It does get a little bit tight when you're trying to. There's technically like a bottom area in here. You could stuff stuff in there, but I just found that a little bit, tighter. But overall, it is functionally identical to that one, except for the friction and the poor visibility of the black camouflage. So finally, let's talk about the main compartment here, which opens up not quite all the way, and it definitely opens up further on this side than on this side because of the water bottle pocket. If we kind of fillet the bag open here, you can see, first of all, this is the top stash pocket. Just kind of hangs vertically down like this, and if you flip it up, you see this little spot for an air tag, which is actually quite handy. I didn't really use it that much in the beginning, but now I actually quite like having an air tag in some of my bags here. So let's see, if we are to let's flip this bag open like this here. So this is the front of the bag, this is the back of the bag. In the front of the bag we have 2 pockets, 2 stretch elastic pockets here. I have here just a toothbrush set, and then I've got an Anker 737 gigantic honker battery here. And then that's really it for these 2 stretch pockets. And then all the way at the bottom I have Evergood's Civic Access Pouch 1, which just has all my electronic goods and stuff like that in there, chargers, cables, whatnot. And that's really it. Nice orange contrast here. See how much easier it is to see the inside of this all the way to the bottom compared to, whatever is going on inside here with the black camouflage. Anyway, it's very tight to get into the bottom of this bag, which was true also on the original Aer City Pack. This one, because there's even less stretch, it is even harder in my opinion, but as you can see, clearly you can carry things inside of there. Let's see here. Looking at the back of the bag here, you've got a pocket, non-elasticated, flat. Well, I guess it's slightly elasticated, pardon me. For a tablet, this is where I would prefer to keep a tablet over this front drop-in area because of the friction that I talked about there. And then we've got a big, laptop compartment here, suspended off the bottom with a false bottom, as you would expect. Carries easily a 2022 16-inch MacBook Pro, no problems. A little bit of a felt or soft padded cushion thing here, and then all your logos, your Aer, Carryology, and X-Pack, which is now apparently putting their logos on stuff inside of there, and very easy to access. And then you can see, like I said, it's a little bit of a fuss to get things in there, but it is capable of carrying it. When you got everything in here, it gets very, very tight, but still, doable. If you wanted to carry something for example, bigger headphones, sometimes I carry I realize I have 2 pairs of earbuds here, but if I were to carry bigger headphones, they'd have to lay flat, those kinds that fold flat, and I would stuff them in at the top and then I'd zip it up like this. If you had those things like the Sonys where they turn, they're a little bit thicker, that one's actually even harder. I had to either remove my cap one at the bottom and kind of stuff it at the bottom or something like that. And like a camera or something like that, forget it, unless it's something very small and slim here. But anyway, that's really it about this bag. Like in conclusion, you know, overall my feelings about the Tokai variant is the same as my feelings about the City Pack, original City Pack, in that like I like it. I have found myself using it pretty heavily for the past month, and virtually all the strengths of the original bag remain. Plus some pretty good additional improvements. The key leash, the looks, which obviously are subjective, but I like them. And the fact, most importantly, that it stands up on its own, which is awesome. There is a couple of small flaws, most annoying one being this front pocket, which I talked about here. But I'm willing to live with that here. So if you are in the market for a bag like this, what are some bags that you might want to consider? Well, first of all, go watch the original City Pack review if you want to see non-Aer variants of things you should consider. I think if you're in the market for this particular bag, your most obvious choices are going to be, you know, the original City Pack, which is functionally identical, as I've spent this whole video talking about for the most part, other than the fact it doesn't stand up on its own. But more importantly, is available right now on their website at a very reasonable price, whereas this one you're gonna need to go on to like eBay or something like that and pay ridiculous amounts of money markup for this. Or you can also consider something like the Aer City Pack Pro, which I recently also reviewed, that has, you know, a lot of the same functionality, but just a little bit of like a bigger capacity, and, you know, it solves some of the problems, introduces some other kind of interesting considerations. Of definitely a different style, clamshell style, etc. But maybe something to also consider there. And so really, that is it. If you have any questions about this bag, go ahead and leave them in the comments below, and if I can, I will answer them. And if you have any bags you would like me to review, go ahead and leave those in the comments below, and if I can, I will review them. Thank you very much. Continuing our coverage of like continuing our coverage, our breaking coverage of the exterior pockets on this bag here.